Hi, hello, and welcome to the next RedTrack stream. This is Vlad from RedTrack, and today I'm happy to welcome Parker from Meta. Parker is product marketing lead to the stream to talk about Opportunity Score. And to be honest, this is quite um, exciting moment for me because we, as RedTrack tracking tool, our users, media buyers, we all interact with Meta like explorers. We do things, we poke, we change something, and we see what changes, what happens. And Parker, you, as if I remember correctly, you even contributed to creating the Opportunity Score, so you know how it works from the inside. And seeing that other perspective, like how it actually works, is extremely. First of all, I'm curious. So, welcome to today to the RedTrack stream, and the stage is yours.
Great, thank you, Vlad. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me here today. As Vlad mentioned, my name is Parker, and I've been at Meta for almost 10 years. I'm based here in New York City in one of our offices today. So today I'm going to share my experience working on Opportunity Score. I was part of the original team that helped design and launch the Opportunity Score Alpha back in 2024. So I'll share a bit about the journey we've been on. And I have just a handful of slides I'll go through. Then I'll hand it back to Vlad to talk about some best practice pillars and takeaways. And I think we're going to leave plenty of time for questions at the end. And I'd love to take some. So next slide. All right, so this is what we'll cover today. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk about what is Opportunity Score and then hand it to Vlad. So on the following slide, before we answer the question, what is Opportunity Score? I think it's useful to think about the environment we had before Opportunity Score existed. So we had performance frameworks at Meta. You may remember things like Brilliant Basics, Power 5. Meta and our partners and agencies also had best practices backed by data that they would share with clients. But we didn't have a universally consistent architecture to evaluate and compare a growing inventory of best practices or recommendations. So as a result, advertisers, particularly small advertisers, often struggled to answer a simple question, which is, what should I do next to improve my campaign? What should I prioritize right now for this campaign in this moment? And that's really what we wanted to, that's really the question we wanted to work on when we introduced Opportunity Score. So on the next slide, what is Opportunity Score? So Opportunity Score, in the simplest sense, is a score, which you see on the left, and a set of recommendations that you see on the right. So the score ranges from 0 to 100 and represents how optimized your campaigns, your ad sets, and ads are. The recommendations are distinct actions within Opportunity Score you can take to increase your score. So each recommendation has a point value. And when you adopt the recommendation, and the adoption flow is generally a few clicks, hopefully pretty streamlined, your score goes up by that amount. So some examples of these recommendations, you've probably seen things like liquidity best practices. If your creative's getting fatigued, you want to refresh the creative, CAPI, et cetera. We can talk more about that. So with this architecture, we can bring order and structure to all the recommendations available to you and use things like empirical testing and the large data sets we have, machine learning, to make those recommendations increasingly valuable and personalized to you over time, to you and your advertisers over time. All right, next slide. So when we first launched Opportunity Score in the original alpha, we actually started with 14 recommendations. And over time, that number has grown. And we've also continued to optimize the system. But one thing hasn't changed, and that's the three principles by which we design and govern Opportunity Score. And I call these the 3 Ps. So the first P is proven. Each recommendation that goes into Opportunity Score must be backed by an experiment showing that it helps improve advertiser results. So this isn't marketing fluff. This is a core principle built into the governance system of Opportunity Score. So if a recommendation does not show statistical evidence that improves advertiser value metrics like CPA, it doesn't go into Opportunity Score. And we have detailed experimental requirements and a data science review council that is monitoring this and ensuring that we're holding that bar. And I've been in those meetings. So now, this doesn't mean that every recommendation will work 100% of the time for every advertiser. I just want to be clear about that. Even with the best AI and the best data science, we cannot guarantee that, right? But it does mean you can be confident that the recommendations you're seeing have been vetted and work for the majority of advertisers like yourself. And so every recommendation has that value proof. And then when we do meta-analyses across everyone using Opportunity Score, we see a statistically significant CPA improvement for advertisers adopting Opportunity Score. So that's proven. The second is personalized. So your recommendations are tailored based on several insights and several signals. So these include things like business type, campaign objective, setup, budget allocation, the duration and progress of your campaign and ad sets over time. So Opportunity Score is not simply pushing the same recommendation with the same score to all advertisers. It's looking at your profile and surfacing the right recommendation at the right time with a point value that reflects an estimate of how beneficial we think this recommendation is for you at this time. And then finally, the third P is prioritized. So of course, every recommendation has a point value, and that's an estimate of how much adopting it will help optimize your campaign. So you can then rank recommendations by that score and answer that question. If I only do one thing today, which recommendation should I consider first? Sometimes we call this next best action, or MBA. What's the next best action I should take? A recommendation with a score of 40, for example, is a better place to start than a recommendation with a score of 2. So they are prioritized. All right, next slide. Okay, so on this side, you see a little bit of that tailored or personalization I mentioned, one example of it. So on the left and the right of this slide, you have two very different businesses that are actually receiving the same Opportunity Score Reels recommendation. So the system is saying, we think this is beneficial for your business right now. But based on the signals we have about each business and the campaigns they're running right now, the point value on the right side is higher than on the left side. So there's different prioritization based on the context for the business. All right, next slide. So I just want to close, and then I'll hand it to Vlad to talk more, and we can also do questions. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into how Opportunity Score works and the rigor behind it. The last thing I'll say is that, and I think this will come up in questions, is Opportunity Score isn't meant to replace your human judgment or your expertise about your business. There are many situations where you may consider a recommendation in Opportunity Score and decide it's not quite right for you in that moment, and that's okay. But I do hope you see the rigor we bring to each recommendation, right? And consider each one with an open mind. I have a small business myself. I have an Opportunity Score on my small business, and I consider each one, often adopting them. So really challenge your preconceptions a little, consider the recommendation, and maybe if something didn't work in the past, but the data is suggesting now that in this instance, with what you have running now, it very well may help you get closer to your goals. So it's at least worth a test. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Vlad.
Thank you. And before we jump into my slides, and Parker, can I just try to explain what we just said, do a read back, but using analogy, step outside of meta. So let's consider the topic that actually covers. I thought about how can I play it out while we was talking. Let's think about like very popular one, like how we should eat healthy, like nutrition. Like it touches everybody. So like healthy campaigns, healthy nutrition. So one of the recommendations would be, hey, you need to drink water. It's scientifically proven that drinking water actually helps keep body hydrated. It positively impacts all the other functions. Will the just one thing make you healthy? No. Do you need to drink water right now? Depends.
Exactly.
But is it actually useful across the very broad population? It works in most cases, most of the time? Definitely. So that's example of opportunity score. And then personalized, okay, I take creatinine in the morning, fine. So it means I should drink actually more water than the human who doesn't do that. Okay, now that's becoming personal.
Yeah.
And then priority, well, if I drink water, that's fine, but there might be some other things that are even more important to my health than drinking water, and then it will pop up sooner if somebody would be building the system for me and for my health. But it doesn't mean that drinking water is not important, but it also means that drinking water for me means something else than drinking water for like a professional athlete or for somebody who actually eats a lot of vegetables and get that water from other sources. So still, in the end, stay hydrated. Is it a good analogy?
Yes, it's actually an analogy we use internally at Meta as well. So that health coaching, I think, is spot on. I take creatine in the morning as well. It seems to be very popular, and I have to drink a lot of water. So yeah, I think that's perfect. And it's also, even if your campaign is kind of doing well, you're happy with the ROAS, there still could always be opportunities to be healthier, to use your analogy.
Yeah.
And that's what you would see in Opportunity Score.
And
And
I never knew that you use this health as an analogy, but I thought it's like the one that is kind of talks about health of the campaign, and this one talks about health of the human being. So they might be connected.
yes, and another way to extend this analogy is part of my job at Meta is working with the team that is building new products and new features and assessing those and potentially adding those into Opportunity Score recommendations if they pass the bar. So similarly with health science, it changes over time. There's new recommendations for you. We weren't all taking creatine 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think I just made an experiment for very different purposes, but the results I found, well, it works. Not as expected, but it definitely works. So I'll keep doing that.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to some things, I like to test them on myself, and then if it works, I keep doing that. If it doesn't work well, I stop doing it. Look, so and again, this was totally unscripted, but if we continue this health analogy, now there are routines that a media buyers can follow when working with multimedia buying. And here they will name them 7 pillars of optimization, with they are all important, but some things should probably come first, and then you should care about more and more and more granular things, like with water. If you're not hydrating properly, well, probably things are less meaningful because, well, all the living beings on this planet die out because of dehydration sooner than because of starvation. So that's so we start with drinking, then with eating. Same with pillars. So can you please go to the next slide? And those they are the tools, the signal quality, the goals, the audience, creatives, budgets bidding, and learning phase. And to be honest, the further we go down from the one, the less I know from the daily practical experience, but I'll try to carry us through all those 7 pillars to my best ability. And we have prepared a bit more of information on this topic, starting from the ebook that will be on Meta Opportunity Score, that will be available on the RedTrack website and in this video comments, and to the more granular recommendations that will part of this deck. We'll share it later, but we'll not go through it today, and we'll just focus on the pillars, on the summary, and on the questions part, because we think those questions are the why we're here. Everybody else can read the deck. So first, automation tools. So basically, like one of the Parker colleagues, Maxim, in our recent growth meetup that was in Vilnius actually last week, said some people still think that they know Meta better than Meta does. And it might be true 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but by now the tools and their access to data and all the algorithm, all the research that Parker, you was referring just 5 minutes ago, evolved to such a level that I would concur, although the media buyer was past history of a lot of buyernets, I don't like it, but Meta knows better. And so to start, you actually have to those tools actually enabled to use them. And those are the tools that may or may not fit your needs depending on the type of campaigns you're running. And this is the start. No automation tools, like no meta optimization score that you can actually apply that those tools can leverage. Next one, please. And this is my favorite because it's about data, it's about tracking, it's about conversion API and data routing. So meta algorithm, and that's my probably favorite topic, is as good as the data you feed to it. And actually in the past, in the previous eras of media buying, it was programmatic. Before programmatic, I would say it was operator driven. Now we are in algorithmic age. And that signal quality, the data you send back to Meta is probably your biggest leverage that impacts the performance of your campaigns outside of boundaries like budgets or targeting. So Meta consumes data from multiple sources. A media buyer usually controls two, Pixel and Conversion API. And having Conversion API would not replace Pixel. They are not either or. They complement each other because very different signals. They send different, even if overlapping, sometimes data back to Meta. And of course, you should strive to get the event match quality above 6. I would say if you have access to any data on users that you capture with compliance, it may be emails, maybe a phone number, you should send this, and that's how your score will go to 8 and higher. Then you can apply smart decisions, because if you are in DTC space and you can associate a product with the gender, you can use it to send additional signals to Meta, and this will help to get your score even higher, because by design we don't know who is the visitor that makes a purchase, but by the type of product they buy, you can make an educated guess. And I've seen cases when it actually works and drives the event match quality score even higher. And so for that, you need Conversion API. And RedTrack provides you as a media buyer with Conversion API that we keep expanding together with Meta Signals team to make sure you get the best possible results from your algorithmic learning. And with that, we'll leave my favorite part and go to the next one. Goals. RedTrack works in the very high-pressure affiliate media buying space, e-com DTC space. And if with DTC things are very clear, there is initiate checkout, there is purchase, there is view content. In affiliate space, there is a lot of room for plays. And I've run over the last several years into multiple approaches. Hey, let's do custom events. Let's send leads as purchases because Meta optimizes for purchases better than for leads. Those all might have been true some years ago. By now, if you send leads as purchases, you'll get results that would be good for purchases, not for leads, because people who submit forms, do the request, make phone calls, behave differently from people who make purchases online. take me an example. I would submit multiple forms a day with purpose. I rarely buy online. But if you optimize events towards purchase, I'll probably not see them because I don't buy things online. If you optimize events to leads, I will see them because I actually fill in multiple forms when I explore products, and Meta sees my behavior. So this is very important to pick up the actual objectives that correlate to your goal, not the ones that you think will give you best result. Of course, you can experiment. I always support and welcome the experiments, but practice tells that you'll just waste time. If you do leads, you better optimize for leads. If you do purchase, you better optimize for purchase. If you do form submit, you better optimize for form submit. And so out of the all events you have, pick up the ones that give you as many signals as possible. Because for Meta, you need both volume and quality of data. And we can help provide the quality by capturing multiple additional signals like FBC, FBP, connecting to additional Meta protocols to enrich all those signals. But as a tool, RedTrack cannot provide you with the quantity. Quantity is up to you, picking the signal that has at least those 50 plus events per week for algorithm to learn and relearn constantly. And then there are tools that you can use like web optimization. They probably not yet publicly available, but they are in the testing, and we see they deliver good results. But there is value optimization for purchases based on different values, so you definitely want to send revenue. There is value optimization purchase based on the actual profit. Now there is value optimization for leads, and so there are multiple tools connected to your specific events that you can apply to get even better results, given the goals you have. And then the next slide, please. Audiences. This is my favorite topic, which I don't like to talk about because I think each and every media buyer actually knows better how to pick up the right audiences for his campaigns. And so there are general recommendations, and we have them here because that's one of the important pillars. But I would say go with your experience and keep experimenting to get the best results. Creatives. Creatives is great because with Meta rolling out all the under Meta updates, it can now read not only the creative itself, but the variation of the ads, whether it's UGC, whether it's professional video, whether it's photo image, whether it's graphical image, whether it's animation cartoon. And surprisingly, different subsets of your target audience would react to different type of medium better than to the other. And Meta knows it, and Meta would show different type of creative to different subset of audience based on the prior understanding of that human interactions with different creative types. And those interactions, often you don't see them, because imagine you scrolling your feed, you just ignore some ads, and you stop by the other, you interact with some other ads, and you maybe click on the third types of ads. And all those are signals that actually now being visible to Meta and impact of their creative delivery. So if you give Meta the variety, you will get better results, and the algorithm will learn and deliver better. And that doesn't mean that if most of the best thing that works for you is UGC, you should kill everything else. That's about now organizing and structuring your campaigns in such a way that you can cover the needs of the broader set of audience based on their preferences. And same comes to aspect ratios, same comes to the combinations, because it all goes down to from which axis and which type of the content your potential audience is consuming. And the next one, please. Budgets and biddings. This is a topic that is often overlooked and seen as static. And why it's often overlooked? Because what budget does, it sets the pacing of campaign. Basically, Meta has huge inventory, and it doesn't decide whom to show you ad every second. It takes your budget, and I don't know the exact logic, but I know the general approach. It would split your budget into equal chunks over the same periods of times, whether it's 5 seconds elements, whether it's like minute, I don't know really, but we just split your budget and then ensure that the budget is consumed evenly based on Meta's estimation on the traffic that audience will generate during the day. And this is called pacing. But what happens, because you set your budget and set your pacing, when that normal flow of event changes, like hourly spikes, everybody enters the office and opens their feeds to check social media instead of checking their emails. Everybody's home, people commuting. Then there is a major public holiday. So when those one-off, although predictable, things happen, the pacing keeps delivering your budget at standard flow. And you should consider that, hey, budget is the foundation that works on a regular basis. But if you know some events will change that regular flow of events, change the budget. Do the experiments. Change the budget for the holidays if your audience will be getting more time with social media. Change many of the budget in a specific hour of the day. If you can expect more people will go online in your audience and Meta will have extra inventory, you'll get all those extra impressions at the better price, because everybody else will keep their budget steady, and this free inventory should go somewhere. So less competition, better cost per impression. So this is very important pillar, but you should treat this not as something set in stone, but something you could constantly experiment with. And the next pillar, the last one, learning phase. I don't know. The truth is that, yes, give Meta time to learn. And actually, it's so important that the recommendation engine, as far as I remember, in the Opportunity Score, is now tries to show you the changes that can actually change the learning pace. So it's not that it will be a surprise for you. And some things change the learning, some things don't change the learning phase. And yes, you can reset it. You can make changes if you see it right for your business, because again, this is the recommendation. And there are millions of media buyers in Meta, and literally there are millions of individual cases. Like Parker said, yes, like scientifically it works for broader population, but it doesn't mean that it is the right decision in the right situation. You as a media buyer should give the best judgment of whether you should do it, whether you should keep that learning phase going, you should just kill it and start something new. This is the recommendations. It's very important. And you as a pro experienced media buyer is the final human, like they relate to the judge of that decision, and you call it. So these were the 7 pillars, and then there will be a whole part of this deck that will be talking about RedTrack and Opportunity Score, and I suggest we just gradually go through it all the way to the takeaways. So next slide, and next slide, because there's a next slide, and here we stop, because we want to leave time for questions. So key takeaways is that what Parker said is score is not performance. Score is how something is important for you at a given moment based on all the experiments Meta did in similar cases. And it usually leads to improvement. And then you as a media buyer should decide whether it's run or not. Signal quality is essential. Like if you don't send quality data back to Meta, well, you cannot expect algorithm will do good for you. With all the quality, by the way, Parker, am I right that if signal quality is bad, the opportunity score will actually not give the best recommendations because it's also reading from part of the data, although they're not connected?
If signal quality is bad, Opportunity Score will give you recommendations specifically to improve signal quality in certain ways. Once you do that, you'll be eligible for more recommendations that lead to more optimizations. So yes,
Awesome.
Essentially yes.
So if you don't drink water, like, yeah, other things don't really matter right now. Consolidate, don't fragment. This, well, it really gives a Meta opportunity to learn better, but I would say you should decide what works for you. Changes. My favorite topic is change management because that's how I manage campaigns. Anything we do for media buying optimization is change management. With Meta, you either give time and you have your cadence in your experiments, and then 7 or 14 days based on your audience. But in some cases, I mean, you do it once a day. It will still work. If you have sufficient events to actually campaign exits learning, if you have sufficient tangible results in the conversions that it's either working or not working, but probably if we talk about stopping something that's not working, don't wait for 7 days. Do it now. Because why wait? Relaunch, re-educate. And it also gives, review cadence is good. It's very important. But the most important part is actually staying on top of your numbers, starting from signal quality, opportunity score, budget allocation, and then watching the performance of your ads. If they are in green, and the definition of green is different for every business, things are good. If you see the performance deteriorates, shut it down. Apply the fix. See if it performs. So, Parker, would you add anything else to those takeaways that I was missing, specifically given your experience and your very unique and different from us look at the system?
Yeah, I think I might just add on the topic of learning phase, because this does come up quite a bit. As you mentioned, like learning, there are moments where you want to re-enter the learning phase. Learning is a good thing a lot of times. As it relates to opportunity score recommendations, there are several opportunity score recommendations that are designed to not reset the learning phase. And they will say that explicitly in the adoption flow. There's a recommendation called Scale Good Campaigns. It essentially identifies when you have a really promising campaign with headroom, and we are estimating you can actually get more results if you scale that by a small amount. That will not reset the learning phase, and it will say there right in the adoption flow, so you can be confident of that. If you ever have a question about what will reset a learning phase and what won't, we have a Meta for Business article that outlines all the things that reset learning phase and all the things that don't. But essentially, it's significant edits do. In addition to that, I think number 3, consolidate, don't fragment. I hear a lot about people that are fragmenting ad sets for strategic reasons, sometimes for reporting reasons. That's another one, again, where I'd sort of like challenge the thinking, just see like, is it possible that if we combine these and give the system more liquidity, can we actually get better results, and then do reporting separately. This is one I often encourage people to test so they see it for themselves. Because they might think on the surface they don't want to adopt that recommendation. But yeah, I think this is great, Vlad. I'm aligned with you. And
on topic of reporting, I always thought people fragment for other reasons, because reporting is the not the easiest but evident part. It's like you can single out ad performance.
Right.
Meta provides those tools. RedTrack provides those tools. Hey, even now Claude, with all the ability to access your account, can build that report for you on any level you want.
Right.
Just give it the data. So definitely reporting should not be the obstacle to consolidation.
Agree.
Thank you very much. Can you have the next slide, please? And this is the third part. And I'm checking the time here, and I'm surprised it's been 35 minutes. It's well, I thought we'll actually fit our two parts in less than 30. So let's see the questions. And first of all, we have a lot of questions were asked before the call. We will show them, but we also will get questions from the audience. So, okay, this one definitely goes to me. RedTrack enriches conversion API with first-party data. First of all, by design, all the data in RedTrack is actually yours. We just provide you with tools to enrich it. Like if we have Shopify integration, we can get all the PI data from Shopify that is available with the order, hash it properly, make it compliant with all the requirements, and push back to Meta via Conversion API. And it's not that we have any additional access to first-party data. It's yours. What we do have on our side as a solution is the ability to enrich it with the databases we use. Like, hey, actually, we capture all the clicks. When we do the attribution, we connect conversion to a click, so we can enrich that conversion data with a zip code information, besides all the evident like locations, user agents. Well, we also, with the support of Meta Signals team, integrated the Meta protocol that allows to get FBP, FBC data straight from Meta based on the signals we send there. So we enrich your data with FBP and FBC, which is important for the event quality score. And we actually do it with both for redirect and no redirect tracking. So in that sense, we don't own your, and we don't have any first-party data. It's called first-party data for a reason. It's your data. But we help you capture it, associate with the conversion record, turn into the signal payload, and send back to Meta via Conversion API. So the next question, please.
I think this is, why is Meta disabling clean profiles and ad accounts? So this is a little off the topic of Opportunity Score, but I thought we might get this question. So yeah, I want to just acknowledge right up front that this can be really frustrating if this happens to you. Nobody wants their account disabled when it's an inadvertent disablement. So I understand that frustration. The context, as you probably know, and I have to remind myself of this, is that Meta's system is attempting to protect the platform by removing accounts and that violate advertiser standards. And when you have hundreds of millions of ad accounts and billions of profiles, even an extremely high accuracy rate, like 99.999, means that some clean accounts could be affected. So that is a trade-off, and I have to remind myself that when, if I'm working with a small business and that maybe happens to them. What causes disablements, you all have probably read or know this. It's perceived violations of a policy, suspicious payment activity. It could be unusual activity and login activity, or unverified business information if your business admin is not verified. So my advice, if this happens to you, is first check in business support home to look at the specific example of the policy that was violated. And there should be a description there that explains to you and links to that policy. I would not stop there. I would also really understand the why that you may have been triggered either inadvertently or in a valid way. So I'd use those details, and actually, if you have Meta AI or something, plug it into an AI to learn more about what exactly happened. And that's going to be important because if you want to request a review or appeal, you can do that again in Business Support Home, request that review, and you want to provide an explanation of what you're seeing on your side. Request that review, and then that review goes in. And finally, if you would like support throughout the process, you can engage Meta Support Chat, which is available in Ads Manager and also in Meta Support Home. But I don't know who asked this question. I don't know if that's satisfying, but that's how I think about it, and that's how I coach folks. But when this happens, I don't know, Vlad, if you have any tips.
I will add to this because, be fair, we are at RedTrack workers different at platforms, not only with Meta. And we, being on the events, on the streams, we hear this question asked using almost the servers across all the ad platforms. So it's not something unique to Meta. And the answer is always the same. Actually, the first layer of defense is automated system. And because of the number of offenses, basically, those systems look for patterns, and sometimes completely legitimate, clean account may trigger some of those patterns and will preemptively ban. And the first thing, what I also always add if somebody asks me, but of course I'm really asked this question, just don't try to repeat the same pattern with this new account.
Yeah.
Because it will just make things worse.
Yeah.
Because before that, it might be a mistake for the system, triggered by something that is not in control. You do it 2 or 3 times. Now your credit card number or whatever payment method you use will get into that learning corpus. This is a bad actor, and it will make things worse. So don't just repeat it. And then this is, I think, Parker, what was missing from your observations, because what I used to do is if something doesn't work, I'll do it 3 more times. It will definitely work, and not any longer, because it's not some human sitting checking your account and making a mistake. It's the system. So, and then when you stopped yourself from doing the same registration with the same data second time to compound on the issue, then you should study the policies, evaluate, request support. There is quite advice that I heard a couple of times. I'm not sure, Parker, how it's actually relevant, but I heard it actually, if you don't get the response as fast as you expect, submit it second time, but not the third one. Is it relevant, or just one time is enough? I mean, I don't know. That's what I heard from all the conversations.
I think it depends. I do think one time is good, and keeping the task ID you have for that one time, so you can always reference that and have that history. Yeah, I think your point of like understanding the policy is a good one. I'll give an example. I had an ad disabled or an ad rejected for violating the alcohol policies in the US. And my first thought was, this is really strange. I'm not selling alcohol. But when I actually looked into it, one of my ads was talking about cocktails, you know, and that ad was going to people under the age of 21 in the United States. So it was flagged. So just like taking that extra moment to like really make sure you're understanding it versus just immediately creating a new ad or ad account and doing the same thing over. That's not going to lead to a good place.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would never actually, the example you gave, I think that's, I would never even figure it out if I was doing that. It's like combination of actually situational awareness and policy awareness and like knowing the laws. Good. Next question, please. This I can do. It's fairly easy. What in all those questions, my first answer would be where exactly this conversion never showed on Meta. Was it event manager? Was it ad campaign performance reports? Because Meta has two layers. Whatever data RedTrack sends via conversion API goes into event manager. Then, depending on the volume of your data and some other, let's say, parameters of things going on, each specific signal may take up to 36 hours to process. At least 48, but, well, I would say 36, but actually the answer we have is 48. And what it means that conversion may hit the event manager, and for 48 hours it will not be even processed. But then when it will be processed, it may not even show up in the ad manager, because ad manager is no longer one-to-one approximation of your signals. It's actually the modeled data built by Meta from all the events in the event manager based on all the multiple rules that Meta has to comply in order to enable the optimization. Like somebody has do not track me. So now Meta cannot push his data directly. And when processing this data, Meta's algorithm, like event manager, recognizes that requirement from that particular user and say, okay, no, that's, and then accumulates all those similar profiles, very different case, and okay, this is the part of the data I can display directly in Ads Manager. For this subset of data, I need to build actually a model and append this model on top of the like direct correlated data. And that's why also the number of conversions would not always match 100% between what you captured and what Meta showed in the Ads Manager, because of the different attribution models and because of the different data processing rules and the modeling Meta applies on top of data to comply with those data processing rules. So the next one, please.
Core setup.
I don't know what is a core setup. Sorry, Parker, do you know what is a core setup?
This is not my area of expertise. I think core, and we probably shouldn't go too deep here, but I think core setup is a pixel integrity feature. It might have been called protected data mode in the past. But I think, should we expect lesser conversions when core is enabled? Yeah, so this can be enabled, I believe, with financial advertisers and healthcare advertisers, often more sort of sensitive categories. I think the short answer is you shouldn't expect less conversions, but you may see fewer attributed conversions. Because that setup is stripping some URLs of information. So I think, like in this case, to close the gap, obviously, the first thing I'd say is CAPI. Is always have a look at CAPI to help close that gap. It's a gold standard best practice. Start there, and I think the other thing I'd say is I think Meta as a company is working to like increasingly make sure you see more of these conversions with core setup. But I can't go much deeper than that, Vlad, because it's not my area of expertise.
Oh, and actually it's also not my expertise, because for me, I see it more like related to, as you mentioned, like financial healthcare campaigns. But us sitting on the tracking side say just use conversion API. That's like we don't have any other answers because we don't control the pixel at all. What I would say that even for web-based events, still conversion API is good because it can get some of the data points that Pixel will not get, just because Pixel will be blocked.
Yeah.
The fact that you have pixel on page doesn't mean that pixel is being called all the times. All the signals will be delivered. So, like, I think pixel is important. Conversion API is important. It just pixel covers web events. Conversion API covers all events. So we should use both. And can we go to the next question, please? I don't know how to answer this question. I'm not a media buyer any longer. I think, Parker, your small business is outside of the insurance vertical.
Yeah, I can take a stab at this one. I think, so the question is how to run an insurance vertical in best possible way as CPC is always high. I think my first thought is making sure when you're evaluating something like CPC or CPA that you're comparing it to the appropriate vertical. I think often with insurance, you're getting, insurance leads, and the lifetime value of that insurance policy is quite high. So if you're comparing insurance CPCs to, like, I don't know, tech product CPCs, they are going to be high. So if you can evaluate within the insurance vertical and benchmark to the insurance vertical, you'll get a better sense of, where you are. There's some tools, your agency partners may have that. There's some tools in Meta and online. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, like Vlad, it's kind of the standard best practices here. Like, my mind goes first to making sure you have all the liquidity you can have, advantage plus placements, advantage plus audience. The more you restrict that, the more likely you could see higher costs. And Opportunity Score will serve you those recommendations at the time that are applicable to you. The other sort of category that we touched on that is an Opportunity Score is creative best practices. So if you're really looking at your creative and leading with a value proposition, using testimonials or social proof, creative is the great equalizer, I call it. If you can really invest in your creative, you can often improve performance without, like, bidding a lot more. And then finally, like, maybe just consider looking at optimizing more downstream. So I think this person's talking about cost per click. I don't know, Vlad. I'd consider, like, thinking, is that the right objective?
I don't think cost per click is more a measure of efficiency than an optimization objective.
Yeah.
Because with insurance, you probably should go, depending on the volume, at least to lead, or better to qualified lead if data allows.
I agree. Yeah.
Interestingly, on the creative part, when I am at the events talking with our customers, with other businesses that do heavy media buying, now they literally used to have data scientists. Now they have creative labs, like teams that their sole goal is to actually create a constant process of iterating on creatives, perfecting ad nauseum until they actually probably come up with a better idea and then setting it all over again. And yeah, you was right about the audience. I remembered it was a good reference to my very, very old days, years before RedTrack, when I was running paid ads for B2B business. And me and my friend who was doing some other paid ads for other companies were saying, hey, sometimes our CPCs get as high as $20 per click. And if you consider that it was like 2009, it was a lot. And he said, yeah, sometimes my CPC go as low as $20 per click. So it was like, I say, how come? Say, my averages was 50. And I say, wow, my average is 5. So because his niche was different, and it was okay for his business in all those times to pay $50 per click. And so here comes again, insurance CPCs will be different from some broad consumer product DTCs. So the next one, please. This is a good one. Patrick, I can translate it to the idea is RedTrack positions itself as a single source of truth for performance data. But Opportunity Score works on data that Meta has. And the data that Meta has is different from the data RedTrack has. So how come that RedTrack is a single source of truth, but we should follow Meta opportunity score?
Yeah, I see things like this as complementary. And what I mean by that is if you're looking at your attributions in RedTrack and you're comfortable and confident of that that's great. What Opportunity Score is doing is really it's not so much pulling in like every attributed conversion and recalculating Opportunity Score. What it's doing is making sure your setup is fully optimized to get those conversions wherever you're measuring them, right? So that's what I mean by complementary. The Opportunity Score recommendations you're going to see are things like resolve your creative fatigue, opt into a Reels placement, even things like sometimes adding music to a reel that you don't have can actually make this data shows can make an impact. So those things are always, I think, going to be valid, even if you have something like RedTrack that's showing slightly different attribution than what Meta has. I don't think it's a problem for Opportunity Score.
Yeah, I would say, from my understanding, actually, of the RedTrack part, RedTrack shows, based on this single source truth, which campaigns RedTrack, based on the attribution model in RedTrack, are performing in Meta. An Opportunity Score shows how to make those campaigns in Meta perform better.
Yeah.
So they answer different questions. They cannot be compared one to other because their purpose is different. And like you said, they complement each other fine. So we literally have time for one more question, I guess. So let's see it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this one for you.
I like this question. Yeah, I like this question. So this gets at the heart of, considering an Opportunity Score recommendation, knowing that there's statistical evidence and rigor that went into showing it to you, but then also considering your business, your expertise, and making that call. And I think what I would say is something like this. Let's take an example of Advantage Plus audience. If you may, let's say you have a business that does men's sports clothing, right? And you set your audience just to men in a certain country. You may see a recommendation from Opportunity Score suggesting that you should broaden that audience, and it may suggest broadening it to serve your ads to women, right? Your first response might be, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But here's why I would consider it, and Vlad, you may have a different opinion, but I would consider it because, number one, women also buy men's clothing for men and for people. And number two, when you accept that recommendation, you're not going to shift your audience all the way over to women. What you're going to do is you're going to broaden the audience and let the system learn and find who the best audience is for you. It may end up being 90% men, as you had in the past, but 10% women who often buy things for their partners or friends or men in their lives, right? So that's why this one comes up a lot, and I encourage people to kind of challenge their thinking a little bit, go a little bit outside their comfort zone. You have the ability to A/B test if you ever want to test it and see for yourself too. Vlad, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this.
I'm laughing because I do some sports. I probably have just one sport T-shirt used regularly for the past 4 years. It still survived, and it was brought by the love of my life, my partner.
Yeah.
So, it's not me who made the decision. Probably, like I said, I don't buy online. I would never buy it, actually, even if I saw it. Now that I have one, I'll now probably try to look for the same one, which is impossible because it's 4 years old, and I know where my next sport T-shirt will come from. So yeah, this is very fun example because I can definitely relate to myself in this particular case. I'm the audience, but I'm not the buyer.
Yeah, right.
Parker, thank you. That was extremely insightful. We managed to. We had more questions. but from my past experience, we can go on because they will keep even coming. So thank you very much. It was
Yeah,
a pleasure. I appreciate your time, your insights, and hopefully see you sometime when I'm in New York, or you'll be across the European offices of Meta.
of course. Yeah, let's do this again sometime. Happy to join. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
very much. Take care.